Good day to you, my grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's mathematical literacy lesson. My name is Bernard Donko. This lesson is brought to you by the Northern Cape Department of Education in collaboration with Pagama Research and Development. So today we want to consider finance. We want to look at certain aspects that is going to help you prepare towards the examination. So hang around and let us go through. What I need from you is that by the end of the lesson, you should be able to understand and work with issues of finance in terms of VAT and taxation. It is very important that you score as many marks as possible. Now, because we are in the revision season, you should understand that it is no longer time for us to start all over and try to teach the topic. In class, you have to work with questions that are giving you challenge. You have to work with questions that are not allowing you to pass as well as you want. That's the whole idea of this video. So you have to hang around and ask questions even in class as much as possible. Practice skills by attempting questions. Do not just receive past examination papers, you shove them somewhere and then you are not practicing. That becomes a problem. You have to practice so that you can become much better. Then what do you do when you are on your own? The first thing is that you have to try and work out past examination question papers. You have to want to succeed. You have to want to get somewhere. You do not just want to finish school with certificate that is not going to take you anywhere. And for you to go somewhere, it means you have to pass and pass well. When you go to university or for them to admit you, the first question will be, did the learner do maths or did the learner do math lit? Which means that this subject is very important for you to succeed or for you to go further on your way to your next level. Have a timer on your side. So there is a question paper that you want to work out with. What I'm suggesting to you now is that have a timer. Each question has got sub questions. So therefore, if we can take an example like question 1, you realize that there's question 1.1 and then under 1.1 there's 1.1.1, 1.1.2 and so on. Before we go to 1.2, then we have 1.2.1, 1.2.2 and so on. Then we go to 1.3. So what I want you to do is that answer a full sub question before you move to look at the marking guideline. Meaning what I'm saying is that now if you download the question paper, have the memo with you there so that you can work and then you go back and check and see if you have been able to progress. The next thing you have to do is that you must learn to mark your own work, because now we are in the season for revision. So do not think that teachers are going to be the one holding your hand right to the end, marking everybody's work. It is going to take some time, but mark your work because now you have the memo, so you will be able to know whether you are doing the right thing or not. As you work, try to make notes so that you get to know areas that are not okay, questions that are still giving you stress, and what can you do about them. That is what I want you to have. All right, so let's get a checklist of finance. If you look at what I'm displaying to you on the screen, you realize that we have financial documents, taxation, loans, investments, hire purchase, loans with monthly repayment, all of them, exchange rates, inflation. That is what forms the finance. What that means is that the examiner will be asking you questions. So if you look at my next subtopic, it is saying what can be asked for each topic or what can be asked per topic. When we talk of financial documents, they can be asking you questions about tariffs. They can ask you to calculate the cost using given tariffs and or the formula that's given. Learn about terminologies. It is very important. You are going to be asked questions on how to draw various graphs for tariffs. You have to be able to compare 2 or more options of tariff. Also, you should be able to explain and demonstrate how values were calculated. Okay, so let's look at the next part. The other portion for finance will be income, expenditure, profit and loss, cost price and selling price. And along the way, you will find questions about budget. So what are we doing now? We're not here necessarily to answer a full question paper. What I'm here to help you with is to give you ideas of what kind of questions you will be facing in the prelim examination. Therefore, take note of this subtopic so that you get to know which ones are you okay with and which ones do you still need a bit of help about. You should be able to Understand that they will be asking you questions on how to analyze and prepare income and expenditure statements. You should be able to find out which one is the cost price, selling price. You should be able to determine the appropriate selling price of the item. Okay, then the next point will be how to compare income and expenditure statement. So my learner, as you practice, as you watch these videos, you should have some form of idea. We are now far ahead in the year you are about to write prelim, meaning that it is not possible that you know nothing. You do. It's just a matter of having to believe in yourself. It's a matter of having to ensure that you are going to pass and pass well. You should also be able to work with documents for large organizations. Sometimes the examiner will even ask you questions from other nations, because you are now a grade 12 candidate, and therefore the belief is that you will be able to answer those questions. Then we go to break-even analysis. So 1, the break-even values for a business with consideration of the cost and selling price is very important. You have to understand how that works. 2, the values for which 2 or more different costing options are equal. You know what we call the break-even point, right? So when we ask you in the examination, you just make it simple to say it is the point where the income and the expenditure for the business are equal. And I think that becomes fine. You should be able to understand that 1, you are not going to be expected to use formulas like algebraic expressions to find the income becoming equal to expense. We are just asking you questions. Sometimes you'll be able to read from the graph. You'll be able to see where the 2 values cross, and that point is our break-even point. So what I need from you is that you have to try and believe in yourself that you have studied enough and you're going to do it. Then they can be asking you questions about interest. You should be able to distinguish between what you call interest rate and interest values. You should be able to explain what they even mean. You should be able to investigate through calculations how interest values were calculated. Because now that you are about to write prelim, the belief is that you have studied enough, and therefore you are able to answer a variety of questions. Don't forget, the examiner can ask you questions about loans. The examiner can ask you questions about investments with fixed payments. Then we can come to banking documents. The examiner can ask you questions about how much the amount was deposited, how much amount was withdrawn, and sometimes they can even give you a formula where you have to substitute values so that you will be able to answer the questions. How about hire purchase? Are you prepared for them? If you are not, these are the questions that you have to get yourself ready. Look for a lot of past exam papers, and I'm very confident that you will do well. Okay, now let's look at other points. When we talk of the things that examiner can ask you, we've tried to summarize it onto this screen. So we have banking, loans and investments. You are supposed to interpret banking documents. You should be able to determine bank charges for different types of accounts, draw graphs. You are supposed to investigate advantages and disadvantages of different accounts, and many things. So yours is, along the way you pause the video, you can take a snapshot if you have a phone and try to see if you know every point. All right. Another point from those points is that you should be able to determine the real cost of a loan and the interest paid on the loan. You should be able to determine the total amount of money in an investment at the end of the investment period. Investigate the changes, the effect of changes on the interest. Let's say the interest was 12%, but then after a certain period of time, the interest is now 12.5%. How does that affect the repayment? You should know that because 1, the examiner believes that you are in grade 12, and therefore there are certain things you have to do and you should be able to do comfortably. Like, for example, you have to know what is an inflation. You should be able to explain what's an inflation and know that inflation is a measure of the change in the purchasing power of money over a period of time. You should be able to know that inflation represents the increase or the average increase in the prices of goods and services over a period of time. Now, that is not enough. The examiner will then be asking you to do calculations to find out or support the idea that you are putting forward. So, for instance, if we are talking of inflation, Then the examiner can give you the value of a car. At a point in time, it was this much. Due to inflation, this is the price now. So you have to work. And that's what I'm presenting to you in this video, that you have a lot of things that you need to learn about. Taxation, you have to know VAT, VAT inclusive, VAT exclusive. You know, sometimes you have to relax and not worry about those huge mark questions because you feel like those are the ones you want to answer them. Try to answer the quick win questions, those ones that are going to give you as many marks as possible in a shorter space of time. So you must be strategic. Try to work and work very well. When it comes to tax, then you should also be able to work out the taxable income, personal income tax. You should be able to find out what's the net pay, analyze information. Sometimes the examiner can even give you a paper from SARS, and then they will be asking you questions on them. All of those are extremely important, so you have to prepare very well. Now, my advice, one, you must study your timetable because there are some days where you have to write 2 papers. So if you don't study it, you may end up forgetting, because you would think you are writing in the afternoon only to find that you are supposed to write morning and afternoon. Do not go a day without studying or reading, because that will not help you. Keep your brain sharp because it will help you a lot. All right, then let's look at the next point. What you should bring during the examination. I have listed a few things for you, and I've also told you what you need to do. Once you get the paper, try to read the instructions. Don't spend too much time on a question that you feel you don't know, but then also it has very little marks. Don't do that. Rather, leave the space, you come back and you answer those questions. When they are saying that the marks are 4 or 5, your response should correspond with the marks that have been given. If they want you to have more marks, it means that you have to work a little bit extra. Don't leave blank spaces, my learners. Yes, you don't know this question, you go, but then you have to come back and answer those questions. All right, always try to answer the quick win questions because they will help you a lot. In the exam room, what should you bring in there? Have your own ruler, your pens, pencils, your own calculator, your admission letter, ID, timetable. Look, when you have these things, then you know you are covered, so nobody's going to stress you. This screen is talking about terminologies. You can pause the video and take a photo so that you'll be able to understand what I am explaining to you about. Tax. This is under screen where you can also work on. All right. Now let's look at some few questions when we're dealing with VAT inclusive and VAT exclusive, because the purpose is to ensure that you are able to score as many marks as possible. So let's start. We have an item that is costing 700 Rand, and the examiner is saying that it includes 15% VAT, meaning VAT was added to the original price. That makes the value to be 115%. So how do you work it out? You take the amount that the examiner gives to you, you times it by 100, you divide by 115. Why are you multiplying by 100? Because we want to know what was the original price. And every time we speak about original price, you should know we are talking of how much money belongs to the shop before VAT was added. So this 700 does not all go to the shop. A portion has to go to SARS because of the VAT amount there. Okay, so can you see that when you work it out, the amount that stays in the shop is what? 608 Rand and 70 cents. How did that happen? You then have to work out 700, which we paid, minus the 608.70. It means how much VAT will the shop owner have to pay as a form of tax? That would be 91 Rand 30. Now look on the other side. What if they are talking about VAT exclusive, my learner? Then what it means is that you have to work out how much VAT needs to be put there so that you can be able to add to the original price. So we have example here. We are saying that this item is costing 608 Rand 70 cents, excluding 15% VAT. What does that mean? What it means is that you still have to calculate the VAT and add it. Does that make sense to you? All right, so then we take that 608.70 times it by 15%. Can you see we are still getting our 91 Rand 30? So now we can add the 91 Rand 30 to the 608.70. We will still get our 700 Rand. What are some of the mistakes that we make? Let's look at this screen that I'm having here. We're having a scenario where the item is 700. Good. The examiner is saying calculate the original price because 700 includes VAT already. So the common error is that you go and then multiply that amount by 15%. Remember, the 700 already has got VAT. So it is not okay. It is not correct for you to still calculate 15%, then you come and subtract. I'm showing you so that you will know if you see inclusive. Once the examiner says VAT inclusive, it means you can never say 15%. If you want to insist on using 15, then it must be 700 times 15 over 115. Can you see now I have changed the bottom number, the denominator. Once you say times 15 over 115, then you will be able to know how much VAT was there. So that way you can be able to subtract the two values. What are the two values? The 700 and the amount that you're going to get for the VAT, so that you know what is called the original price. That brings us to the end of the examination tips. So let's look at what I want you to have. My learners, I need you to work with me. I need you to go through these questions. It may look very easy for you, but the whole idea is to get you comfortable enough so that you'll be able to score as many marks as possible. So one, we have a monitor screen that costs 4,800. If the price does not include VAT, underline the key statement. It does not include VAT. The examiner says calculate how much VAT has to be paid. So how do you then do that? You do know that now, because there is no VAT, we still have to work out 15%. That is the reason why you see I am multiplying 15 over 100 by the amount, and that is going to give me 720 rand. Does that make sense to you? Sometimes you can also work it in a different way, where you say the amount, which is 4,800 times 0.15. 0.15 is when you press 15 divide by 100. It's going to give you 0.15. So there's no difference here. Okay. Now let's look at another example. The examiner is saying you must calculate the VAT inclusive price of the vase that cost 650. Calculate the VAT inclusive. So what it means is that currently this amount does not have VAT. Does that make sense to you? So as you answer the question, try to highlight the key points so that you get to know what the examiner wants from you. So now we want the VAT inclusive price, meaning we still find 15%. We are going to get our amount of 97 rand 50. Remember, they said VAT inclusive price. So what it means is we still have to go and add the two amounts. Am I making sense to you, my learners? Good. Add the two amounts because you managed to get the 97 rand 50. That is the VAT. But the examiner did not say calculate only the VAT. They said calculate the VAT inclusive price. So we need to get the VAT, add it to the original. All right. Now let's get to exam type questions then. I have given you a municipal tax invoice. Remember, initially when we started, we said what kind of questions can the examiner ask us? And one of them was municipality bills. So here, I'm asking you a lot of questions. The first one says, why is there no VAT charge for the assessment rate? If you look at assessment rate, there's no VAT. And the simple reason is because I've given to you here. What is the simple reason? Assessment rates are charges for owning residential property. And again, this one is VAT exempt. I hope you know there are certain items that are VAT exempt. What it means is that we do not pay VAT on them. Let's look at the next question. 1.2. Now I'm asking you, why is there a negative charge on the invoice? If you look closely, you will see a negative charge. Negative 2.77, negative 1978. Why is there negative? Meaning I want you to express yourself. The examiner wants you to say something. So when you find such a question, this is how you must respond. The municipality allows each household a certain amount of free electricity. Can you see? Here it is written what? Electricity grant. Does that make sense to you? So it means that the municipality is giving each household that qualifies a certain amount of free basic electricity, so that even if you are using, let's say you have used 500, they will still have to deduct or remove whatever is free from your bill before they can then charge you for the rest. Let's look at the next one. Are the water and electricity costs VAT inclusive or exclusive? So here, this is the water services. We have electricity, and the examiner is asking, do they include VAT or they don't? You just look at the document that has been given to you. In our case here, look at it. They are VAT exclusive, and therefore VAT is calculated, meaning the amounts that you see, amounts that have been given, they were not having VAT. So they needed to calculate how much VAT needed to be paid. Is that okay? So the amount is there. Once you see that VAT is calculated, it means that the original amount did not have any VAT. It was our job to find it. Let's look at the next question. Why is the account dated in April, but it says account for March? When you find such questions, what do? Look at the explanation that you can write here. Yes, the statement came in April, but then you had used these services in March. Are you getting the idea? You didn't use now and you paid it now. So let's say we're in the month of August. You have used services in August. Your statement is going to come having August there, but it will come somewhere in September. That is what it means. Okay, let's look at what is on the screen now. We have a cricket coach of a certain school who would like to buy cricket equipment for the school cricket team. So here we have the following information. The piece list is shown alongside. So the coach needs a helmet, gloves, box of cricket balls, cricket pads, cricket bats, size 3 and size 5, and then how much each one costs. So the examiner is asking you, if the coach needs 16 balls, how many boxes of cricket balls would he need? What it means is that you pause, look at the question, and start responding to them. What does the examiner want from you? They want to find out how much you are going to pay for the 16. So you pause, give yourself, I don't know, 5 minutes or so, work it out, and then we refill. So in our case here, we need 4 boxes. Why are we needing 4 boxes? Because the cricket balls come in packs of 4. So we'll be saying 16 divided by 4. It means we need 4 boxes. How about 2.2? It says if the coach orders the following items: 1, 4 helmets, 3 pairs of gloves, 8 balls, 3 pairs of cricket pads, 2 size 3 bats, and 2 size 5 bats. What will the total cost be? So what I needed to do is that look at each item, work it out the price, then in the end we'll put together. So can I give you just 5 minutes? You work it out and then we'll come back. All right, so this is how I wanted you to do it. So you take one item. Can you see I wanted 4 helmets? So I multiply by the price of each helmet. You go for the next one, the gloves, 8 balls. We have the cricket bat. You have the size 3 and the size 5. Add all the values together. You have to pay 5,031 Rand 50 cents. So now the examiner is asking you a question. So you see now there are questions on VAT, but it doesn't come just like calculate the VAT. No, we start from somewhere, then we work and calculate the VAT. So the examiner is saying determine the amount of VAT at 15% that will be charged on the order. Remember, we have to pay 5,031 rand and 50 cents. So examiner is asking how much VAT should we pay, meaning the item does not have VAT. It is your responsibility to calculate the VAT. So can I give you just 3 minutes to work that out? All right, let's reveal the answer together. So you take that 5,031 and 50 cents, you times it by 15 over 100, and that should give you 754 rand 73 cents. That is how much VAT. So as I explained to you, you pause the video, you do it so that we can compare the answer. Remember when we started, I explained to you that now it's a good idea to download the question paper with memo. So this is the same like you having the question paper. Now the memo we are revealing, meaning solve the sub questions, we reveal the answer together. That is how you are going to pass and pass well. All right. If a handling fee of 100 rand is charged on the goods bought, how much, including VAT, will the school have to pay in total for this order? So you find this like 4 marks. How will you attempt it? Can you then try it so that we reveal the answer? The most important thing is to write something. You do not know that it is incorrect. Just write so that we reveal the answer together. That way you will know where you made a mistake. That way you will know what you need to fix. So can I give you 3 minutes? You work it out. We come back together quickly. All right, so this is how I wanted you to do it. You see, we have the 5,031.50. That was the price of all the items. This was how much VAT we needed to pay, and this is the handling fee. So what do? We add all the amounts together. We have to pay 5,886 rand and 23 cents. Okay, can we go to question 2.5 then? The annual budget for cricket is 10,800. What percentage of the budget was spent on equipment for this season? So meaning whatever amount that you use there, write it as a percentage. That's what the examiner is saying. So whatever amount, if I can go back, can you see this one? 5,886.23 cents. The examiner wants this value as a percentage of the 10,800. So this is how you should do questions like that. You take that amount, you write it first, what you spent. You divide it by how much was the allowed amount to be spent, times it by 100, because the examiner wants the answer as a percentage. In that case, what we spent is 54.5% of 10,000. All right, now here are other questions. The price of a pair of sandals is 85.99, excluding VAT. What VAT is charged on the sandals? That's the first one. Number 2, determine the VAT inclusive price of the sandals, meaning I'm saying first 3.1, calculate the VAT. When you are done, come and add that answer to the price of the sandals so that we can find the answer. This is how I wanted you to work it out. Take the 15 divided by 100 times 85.99. It means you're going to have a VAT of 12.90 rand. Are we together? Now I want you to add the 12.90 rand to the 85.99. That will give you 98.90 rand. And you'll be scoring. That's what I mean by always answer the quick win questions. These are easy ones that I think you will be able to answer them fairly comfortably, which means you don't have to stress so much. You are going to be fine as long as you keep on practicing. All right. We have an advert that is quoting an iPhone to be 14,950, VAT inclusive. Again, let me remind you, this means that VAT is already there. So you can never say times 15 over 100. Then you are wrong. So we are saying VAT is 15%. What is the original? So let me give you an example here. So you're going to put a value here, you're going to put a value there, and you're going to times it by 100. I'm times by 100 because the examiner says I must find the original. So I want you to figure out what value must be here, what value must be there, and then let's move. Okay, so this is how I wanted it to be. Can you see I'm dividing by 115? Why? Because they say the amount is VAT inclusive. So every time you see that the examiner is saying VAT inclusive, you always divide by 115. 100 as the original, 15 as the VAT which must be paid, which is already there. So this one means we are going to get an amount of 13,000. Do you see that it was 14,950? So when we remove the VAT, we are only left with 13,000. That's the original price. I hope you did get that correct. Okay, so now the examiner is saying how much VAT is there. What do? You then take the 14,950, you minus the 13,000, and that will give you the correct answer. Okay, so there's another question here that I want you to attempt it as quickly as you can. It says a family consisting of 2 adults aged 45 and 48, 3 children aged 5, 6, and 16, and a grandmother aged 75. They planned to visit the rent show. That's an event which happens somewhere in Johannesburg. All right. The table alongside shows the duration and ticket prices. So your first question is, you are supposed to calculate the amount of VAT payable on a teen's ticket. So what you then do is to look at the keyword. We are looking for teen's ticket. You go through the list of items there is teens. This is how much they pay. Do you see how you must identify your questions and then be able to answer it? If you look up there, the examiner is saying all the prices include VAT, meaning this 50 rand already there is VAT there. So the examiner is asking you how much VAT is there in that 50 rand. Then this is how you have to work it out. Do you see? I did not say 15 over 100. Now I'm saying 15 over 115. Why? Because the 50 rand already has VAT. So we cannot divide it by 100. If there was no VAT on the 50 rand, we're going to say 15 over 100. But this time there's VAT, so we must say 15 over 115. Meaning, how much VAT is there? 6 rand 52. Let's go to question 5.2. If the family visited the show on 20 April instead of 23 April, they would have saved more than a quarter. So they are talking of what? More than a quarter on the total cost of the tickets. Verify showing all calculations whether the statement is correct. So now you find that it's 5 marks, 6 marks. The examiner wants to see if you really understand the whole idea of calculating for such questions here. This is how you need to approach it. If it was 20 April, then we are going to have 2 of 150 because of the people who are between 17 and 64 years. Then one person for 50 rand, another, the 2 teens, 50 rand each. We work 50 and 20. If you add all the values on the 20th of April, we are going to pay 245 rand. What about if 23 April? Because look at the information that is given here. 18 April up to 20 April, adults and pensioners receive 50% discount. So the examiner wanted you to check whether you can make sense of this information. So now let's go to 23 April because now we have passed that stage of the discount. Can you see? Then it's 2 of 150. There's no discount. So everything here is full price. Can you see now? We are getting to pay 420. Learners, you can pause the video and then you watch, pause the video and try to see if you can work it out also for yourself. Okay, so now can you see we paid 420. If we went when there was a discount, we were paying 245. So what I do is to subtract the 2. 420 for the 23rd minus 245 for the 20th, meaning it is 175. But it says we must find out if really it's more than a quarter. So I said 175 out of 20, that will give me 0.41. A quarter is 0.2. So it means the statement is correct. All right. Now let's move to the next point then. 5.3. Provide the reason why pensioners are often offered discount. Why do places usually give pensioners discount? And the reason that you can give is that pensioners often live only on the pensioners or pension money or the grant that they get. Therefore, most companies or institutions try to help them a bit so that they can still enjoy the pleasures of life, because already they don't have enough money. I've given you question 6 here. It says, write down the annual interest rate charged by the Kitchen Pro. So I want you to just look closely. Where's the Kitchen Pro? Look for it. Have you seen it? Because that's where there's the 17% coming from. Are you able to identify it now? If you have not seen it, let me help you. There. Okay. 6.2.1. The monthly installment for the stove for Kitchen Pro deposit must be removed first. So the question is, what is the deposit? They said we should deposit how much? 15%. So what do? I say 15 over 100 times 2,100. It means I must give them 315 rand. Okay, if I have given them 315 rand, then what do? Now we are talking of hire purchase. So it means that because I gave them this money already, you go and subtract it from the money which you were paying. So all in all, I'm left to pay 2,443.49. I must pay it over a period of 24 months. So divide by 24, that is 101 rand and 81 cent. What if the examiner is asking you the original price of the stove from Asda before the price was reduced? What is the original? Meaning, whatever we see here is because it has been reduced. So what was the original price? In that case, then we are going to, can you remember they gave the they gave the person a discount of 210. So we add that 210 to the 1,989. It means that the original price was 2,199, right? I hope you got that correct. Then I've given you 6.2.3. The total cost of the stove from Asda kitchen appliances, we are supposed to calculate if the hire purchase option is chosen. Remember, I've given you all the questions and where the examiner is going to ask you questions. That's why I'm giving you an example here. So what do? Remember, we gave them 199. Are you following my learners? Then from there, we are paying 88 rand for a period of what? 30 months. Can you see here? You had deposited 199 rand. And then you are paying 88 rand. So all in all, you're going to pay 2,839. All right. So now this is what I want from you. You cannot go to the exam room not feeling sure. You don't really know what you want. Have a target. Try to decide how many marks you want to score. Ensure that you are able to hit that target by practicing now so that you don't see any surprises during the examination. It is very important you set yourself a target because it's going to help you a lot. All right, so now I've given you a bit of a homework which I expect you to go and work on them. A lot of questions that I think you might find them very helpful. So my learners, I want us to bring it to an end for this lesson. I hope you pause it, try, watch over and over, ask your friends, teachers some questions so that they can be able to assist you in case you are not able to answer everything. This brings us to the end of this video. Enjoy the rest. Bye-bye.